Hi everyone. Now we are going to discuss about the applications of Lagrange's equation in two classes. The first one is Atwood's machine and second one is bead sliding on a uniformly rotating wire in a force-free space. On these two cases we are going to apply Lagrange's equation and find a solution of the problems. The first one is Atwood machine. So you just see the basic setup of a Atwood machine. It consists of a pulley with a wheel which is rotating on an axle. Along with we have two masses M1 and M2. So these two masses are connected by a string or a wire or a thread and to be placed over the wheel. So it's a frictionless pulley is acting on it. The Atwood machine, or you say Atwood's machine, was invented in year 1784 by the English mathematician George Atwood as a laboratory equipment to verify the mechanical laws of motion with constant acceleration. So basically we say Atwood's machine is a common classroom demonstration used to illustrate principles of classical mechanics or in specific to demonstrate basic principles of dynamics and acceleration. So the machine typically involves with a pulley, a string and a system of masses. The keys to solve Atwood machine problem are recognizing the force transmitted by a string or a rope known as tension is constant throughout the string and choosing a consistent direction as positive. You just notice that Atwood machine consists of two hanging weights of masses M1 and M2 at the opposite ends of an ideal string. The string is to be netted as a massless and do not be get stretched passing around the pulley. Suppose that pulley has moment of inertia and radius r at the location where the string passes around it. That the bearings of the pulley on its axles are frictionless and that string does not slip on the pulley. These are the conditions regarding if there is a moment of inertia is acting on the pulley. So the relevant forces on and the accelerations of each of the three parts of the machines are indicated, whereas T denotes the tension, mg represents the gravitational force acting on the mass, A is the translational acceleration and alpha is the angular acceleration of the pulley. For the sake of specificity, the direction of the accelerations are chosen under the assumption that m1 mass of m1 is larger than m2. So these are the basic conditions what is involved with Atwood's machine solving of problems. So regarding solving of Atwood's machine's equations, we have an option: either you can use Lagrange's equation to solve the final solution or raise basic classical mechanical route. As per our syllabus, we are going with use of Lagrangian equation for Atwood's machine. So you already known that Atwood machine is holonomic conservative system. So holonomic represents all constraints are integrable into positional constraints, and the pulley is frictionless by means that constraints are Celeronimus. You already known what is Celeronimus. The equations of constraints do not contain the time as an explicit variable, and the equation of constraints can be described by generalized coordinates. So system consists of two masses M1 and M2 suspended over a frictionless pulley of radius A and connected by a flexible string of constant length L. So by configuration we can say the configuration of the system is defined with the two coordinates x1 and x2. x1 represents displacement of mass m1 from the center of the pulley and x2 represents the displacement of the mass m2 from the center of the pulley. So if you go with the case of equation of constraint for such a system is, you say L is a total length of the string or the rope and it to be equal with x1 and x2, and then the amount of or the length of the rope or string over the pulley will be given by the term pi and Ta as an approximate. So we say if we add x1 plus x2 plus pi a, it leads with the total length of the string. So Now you can rewrite the equation as x2 is equal to L minus x1 minus pi a. So now you differentiate that equation. We already known well L and pi a are the constant, by means that if I go with first order differentiation of dou x by dou t, I have a term dou x1 by dou x. So that is simply represented as x prime. x2 prime means dou x2 by dou x, dou t, and x1 prime represents dou x1 divided by dou t. If you go for second order differentiation, again the same case, x2 prime, x2 double prime will be equal to minus of x1 double prime, because x1 and x2 are the variables. Now I just start working with analyzing of the kinetic energy of the system. We already know kinetic energy term T will be equal to half mE square. Here we are working with second order variable, so we say it is x1 prime square. So we say about how much of kinetic energy work on with the mass m1, it is 1 by 2 times of m1 x1 prime square, minus how much of kinetic energy acting on the system of m2, so it is half time of m2 x2 prime square. So if I know the value of x2 prime will be equal to minus of x1 prime, so I substitute the values here, by means that I got the total kinetic energy of the system will be 1 by 2 times of m1 plus m2 into x1 prime square. Likewise, I had to calculate the potential energy. So you already known about the potential energy is given by mgx. So if I apply with both masses, because these two are negative in nature, so minus of m1 gx x1 minus m2 of g x2. So these two terms represents the amount of potential energy involved with these two masses. So instead of x1, so instead of x2, I can support the value of L minus x1 minus pi a. So by means that I got the final term like this. In this case, I can notice that the first term have a variable of x1, whereas the second term mg m2 into g, it is the product of L minus pi a. So these terms are constant in nature, so it is marked as V naught. So the potential energy V will be given by minus of m1 minus m2 into g into x1 plus V naught is a final solution of potential energy for the system as calculated by this system. Now I am going to apply with Lagrangian equation. We already known the Lagrangian equation L will be equal to T minus V. So we are already derived the term of T from the earlier equations, and we just take the term value of V from the earlier derivations. Once we substitute these two terms here, now I just you got the final equation of L will be equal to this much. Now we already known that we just go for differentiating of the term L with respect to x1 prime. So in this case, the first term will come, so 1 by 2 times of m1 into m2. If I differentiate x1 prime squared, so I got the term dou x2 times of dou x1 prime. So that term, the two cancels each other, by means that I got the final term of m1 plus m2 into x1 prime. Likewise, if I go with derivation of L with respect to x1 alone, so first term will not be came, it is become 0, whereas the second term we have x1 is here, so I had dx1 by dx will be cancels each other, by means that I got the final term dou L by dou xm of the term L will be equal to m1 minus m2 times of g, whereas V naught is a constant, so we may not get the value of V naught after derivation. So the values of dou L by dou x1 prime and dou L by dou x1 will be substituted in the Lagrangian equation of motion as given here, d by dt of dou L by dou x1 prime minus of dou L by dou x1 is equal to 0. So this is a general Lagrangian equation of motion. If I substitute the value of dou L by dou x1 here and dou L by dou x1 here, I got the final solution of x double prime, because d by dt of x1 prime will be equal to double prime x1 double prime. So it is representing double times a about first you go with displacement d by dx by dt will gives you the velocity. If I go with second derivative of velocity, I have the term acceleration. So x1 double prime represents the acceleration, whereas the right hand side m1 minus m2 divided by m1 plus m2 into g. So these equations simply represents the term f equal to me. So by using of the Lagrangian equation, we found the acceleration of the system. So we say m1 minus m2 divided by m1 plus m2 representing the reduced mass of the system. So this is the solution of Atwood's machine by using of Lagrangian equation. Whereas if you want to go for problem solving approach, the same case, we have just take the same diagram by using of a classical mechanics. The analysis is as follows. First you have to identify the direction which one is positive. So as of this diagram given here, we notice that the mass of M1 will be higher and M2 will be lower, by means that the M1 will start accelerate downside, whereas M2 will accelerate toward upward side. So M1 is greater than M2, so the direction of motion around the pulley and down towards M1 in the positive y direction. So then free body diagram for both objects M1 and M2 has been created as shown in the figure. So this is a simple problem solving approach of Atwood's machine. So we can achieve the same equation as what we got in Lagrangian. So now you notice that while you are applying Newton's second law, so it is F equal to ma for both objects, you just notice here the mass M1 is getting down, by means that M1g is the force acting downward minus tension T is applied on opposite side because of the Newton's third law, which will be equal to F equal to ma. So M1 represents mass and A is the acceleration acting on the system of M1. Is equation number 1 with respect to M1, mass M1. The same case if you apply with the M2, you say tension T is decreasing minus M2g is equal to M2 into A. So on these two cases, tension T is constant. So you already set the values here. This is a condition what you are applying. So in Atwood machine, if you maintain a frictionless pulley, the tension is constant throughout the string. So by using of equation 1 and 2, you can solve the term of T. So if I make T from equation 1 and 2, I write T will be equal to M1g minus M1a from equation number 1, and T will be equal to M2a plus M2g in equation number 4. If I compare these two equations, I got the final solution of A will be equal to G times of M1 minus M2 divided by M1 plus M2. So the equation number 6 represents the standard results for acceleration of the Atwood's machine. So this is a simple problem solving approach of Atwood's machine using classical mechanics. Then if you extend the solution of getting tension, so you just find that actually it is not in our syllabus, but as of interest I am saying, so equation of tension will be extended by solving of equation number 2, by means that we got the final solution T will be equal to 2g times divided by 1 by M1 plus 1 by M2. Likewise, if you consider equation for a pulley with inertia and friction, so the acceleration will be varied as given here. Likewise, tension on both masses will be differ, so that is also derived as T1 into T2 by using of classical mechanics equation. So these are for point of interest regarding Atwood's machine. So the same case what I represent about frictionless case neglecting pulley mass, so you just find a solution. So these are the conditions what we explained, and you can get the acceleration of the masses will be equal to M2 minus M1 times of G and M1 plus M2. Here why it is a difference, because of they take M1 is lower mass, M2 have higher mass. So because of these things the terms will be differ, otherwise the equation remains constant. So this is the importance of Atwood machine on calculating acceleration of the mass through a frictionless pulley, connected through frictionless pulley. So now we are just going to discuss about what are the practical implementation of Atwood's machine. So you just notice that Atwood's original illustration shows the main pulley's axle resting on the rims of another 4 wheels to minimize friction forces from the bearings. So many historical implementations of the machines are follows the design. The most important applications of Atwood machine is the elevator. So an elevator with a counterbalance approximates an ideal Atwood machine and thereby relieves the driving motor from the load of holding the elevator cab. So it has to be overcome only weight difference and inertia of the two masses. The same principle is used for funicular railways with two connected railway cars or inclined tracks, and for the elevators of the Eiffel Tower also, which counterbalance each other. Both lifts are another type of counterweight elevator system approximating an Atwood machine. So these are the important implementations of Atwood machine in the practical application side. So now we are going to discuss about the second option regarding a bead sliding on a uniformly rotating wire in a force-free space. You just notice that there is a uniform rotating wire is there, a bead is connected on it. You just notice the movement of the beading, how it is running on it. So we are just going to solve the equation of motion of this system, and we are just going to find out the solution by using of Lagrange's equation. So now you notice that the wire is straight, rotating about the fixed axis with a constant angular velocity of rotation omega. So the transformation you say about the system is time dependent constraint. So the transformation equation will therefore contain time explicitly and can be expressed as two coordinates, one is x, another one is y. So we already known well x will be equal to r cos theta, likewise y will be equal to r sin theta, whereas theta is the angular displacement will be equal to omega into t. If we go for partial differentiation of x, we say x prime will be equal to r prime into cos theta prime minus r theta into sin theta, likewise y prime will be equal to r prime into sin theta prime minus r theta into cos theta. So if we just calculate the term of kinetic energy, we have a term T will be equal to 1 by 2 times of m x prime square plus y prime square. If you substitute the values of x prime and y prime from the earlier equation, then you can get the solution of r prime square plus r into theta prime square, because sin square theta plus cos theta will be equal to 1. So I got the final solution of 1 by 2 times of m into r prime square plus r into theta prime the whole square. So here theta prime square will be termed as omega square, because theta prime first order angular displacement will be equal to angular velocity omega. So by means theta double prime will be equal to omega square. So by means that I got the final equation of kinetic energy T will be equal to 1 by 2 times of m into r prime square plus r square into omega square. So this is the equation of kinetic energy of this bead sliding on the uniformly rotating wire in a force-free environment. If we start involving with Lagrange's equation of motion, we have a term d by dt of dou t by dou qj minus dou t by dou qj equal to qj. It's a common equation of motion, and if I start substituting the value of t as the earlier expression, so I have a term, I just find the set of equation will be divided into two classes. One is regarding radius r, another is regarding the displacement. Basically the BD is rotating on a uniformly in the circular wire, by means that it's a force-free environment, so the second part is neglected. So we are just considering equation of motion with respect to the radial space alone. So you just get the final equation of motion is equal to d by dt of dou t by dou r prime minus of dou t by dou r will be equal to 0, because of it's a force-free environment. So from using of the value t, I can calculate dou t by dou r prime will be equal to m into r prime. Likewise dou t by dou r will be equal to m r into omega square. See, if I substitute these two terms in equation here, equation of motion, what we got for the radial motion of the beadings, we got the final term m into r prime r double prime square, because d by dt of m into r prime will be equal to m into r double prime square minus, instead of dou t by dou r, we have a term m r into omega square. It is equal to 0. Otherwise you just notice r double prime will be equal to r omega square. So which is representing that bead moves exponentially outward because of centripetal acceleration. So this is the second application of Lagrange's equation to find the solution of the movement of the bead. I think you understand the topic well, and thank you for listening here. Thank you.